And I've asked in many plant-based ceremonies and journeys, show me how this really works behind the veil, behind the scenes. The idea of creation, the process of creation, is something I've become obsessed with. And I've asked in many plant-based ceremonies and journeys, show me how this really works behind the veil, behind the scenes. And while in the moment of these journeys of plant medicine and meditation where it was unfolded, later on, as I sat in contemplation and digested what came to me, it was this 8-step process of creation. And I'm going to lay this as a foundation so that we understand where anticipation fits in the process of creation, as well as allowing ourselves to hold what seems to be the most fun part of this whole process of creation when we really understand it. Many of you who are on this app spend quality time in stillness, quality time in meditation, quality time in yoga, in practice. And then we go out into the world and things unfold in varying ways that we expected, ways that we didn't expect. And as I lay this out, and if you have a pen and piece of paper, I've just discovered as I've worked with a lot of people around these 8 steps of creation, there's something in here in the simplicity of these 8 steps that allows for us to understand where we're at and maybe even open up to the idea and hopefully someday truly accept that in this process of creation, as creators, as you all are, I am free of trying to force it to happen, and I can step into the allowing and sit back and take that 30,000-foot view as to what's unfolding. Here's step 1. Also understand over time, we'll take a deeper dive into these steps, but this is the general layout in my first live Insight Timer. Thank you again all for being here. Step 1 is nothing. Think about, as much as we can as human beings in our limited capacity in our minds, even though they're great machines, think about before time, before our universe was there was nothing, no thing. Or think about going out to coffee with a friend, and your only idea that you had was to get together because you miss each other. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about the beginning of time or we're talking about walking into a coffee shop and sitting down with a friend. In the process of creating something, there first was no thing. And then, step 2, there was a force or chaos. Chaos has judgment around it, but if we can take away judgment from chaos and just look at it as this force, this energy that is stirring things up. I grew up in a Christian home, and so there was "let there be light." In other teachings and in science, it was the Big Bang, all kind of the same thing, saying the same thing. There was this force, there was this chaos. So step 1 is nothing, step 2 is chaos or force. In the coffee shop analogy, the two of you are sitting there having coffee, you're meeting up with your friend, you had no idea, there was nothing, and then all of a sudden you guys start talking about the things happening in the world. You start sharing maybe frustrations with each other. You're talking about chaos. You're talking about stirrings that are happening that maybe you're not content with. And as you talk about those things, particularly if you're a creative human being or an entrepreneur or a crazy visionary like I am, not good at the details, but crazy visionary seems to be working out for me, so I'll own it. D, I just read your comment. I think I'm attracted to nothing too. I love, I'm pretty obsessed with doing nothing these days, and when called to do massive something. So you're in this coffee shop. You're stirring up things. Step 2, chaos, talking about things. Step 3 is questions. Now, how does the universe present questions? I don't quite know how the divine creative intelligence that is out there processes questions. Maybe it's the same as we do. Maybe it is as curious as we can be. I'd assume some part of it is, since we are all a part of it. And the coffee shop analogy, right? You're talking about step 2, about chaos, and all of a sudden the questions start coming. Well, how do we fix this? How do we do something about this? In the process of creation, to create this life that you want, most people have a tendency, particularly if you're an entrepreneur, to skip straight to ideation, and we bypass step 3, which is one of the most powerful places to be. The better we get at asking powerful questions, the better step 4 is, which is ideation or ideas. But in step 3 in this process of creation, we start to ask questions. What if? How could we? What happens? I like to think that this divine creator, God, the universe, whatever you call it, is this curious, childlike frequency. That loving, curious frequency. I like to view it that way, particularly because I have a tendency to lean towards the serious side. So when I think about tapping into love and the creation and all this other stuff, I love coming from that curious, playful space. So for those hopping on, we're talking about the process of creation, and step 1 is nothing. Step 2, chaos. Step 3, powerful questions, curious questions. Step 4, ideation from these powerful questions. Well, what if we did this? Oh, that's a great idea. Now, most things in a coffee shop example stop at the coffee shop, stop at the ideation. Man, that would be a great idea. And we don't carry through on it because we can ideate all day long, but let's be honest, we don't need more widgets and gadgets in the world. And most of us are busy with our lives outside of this coffee shop talk. And so the ideas that we came up with usually stop there. But if there is that one idea, that one thing that really resonates with you, where you can't get rid of it, and you're thinking about it, and usually there's a loop between more questions, more answers, more questions, more answers around this general idea. None of this is linear, by the way. This process isn't linear. Sometimes we go back to chaos a little bit around this idea, and chaos drives more questions and more ideas. But as we are in this ideation phase, step 4, and we find that idea that really resonates, and we just can't shake it, and we're holding on to that frequency, and we're getting clear, we're journaling about it, we're typing out ideas, we're making PowerPoints. So many people are obsessed with PowerPoints these days and creating those things. I'm guilty of it too. We sit in this ideation phase around a single idea, and all of a sudden we end up in step 5, which is that idea, a thought, as many of you know, if you've seen any kind of information from the Heart Math Institute, or you've watched What the Bleep Do We Know, or The Secret, or any of those things, step 5 is where it gets interesting. Because thought is a frequency. Thought is a frequency. It is a signal in this area and in your heart area that is now getting fired out by synapses and creating a frequency. And if we hold on to that frequency long enough, it becomes a wave. What are we on? 6. Step 6. Frequency turns into a wave, like a radio wave. This is where it really begins to get interesting in this process of creation. And during this whole phase of ideation to focusing on a single idea and really honing in on that idea and turning it from frequency into a wave, as we move into this wave form, this is where anticipation becomes most fun. This is where this anticipation, again, not from a space of anxiety, but a space of curiosity. Can I find these synchronicities as I'm holding space for this idea? As I'm holding space for this idea and I'm creating around it and PowerPointing and talking to people about it and getting people to engage in this idea, and I'm really making it a tangible thought and feeling and emotion in my body, it is becoming a wave form. And what I have noticed as I play with this, as I get emotionally attuned to the vision of something that I want to create in the world, and those two things align, when emotion and ideation align, I am excited. I am in this space of anticipation to see what unfolds, playful curiosity to see what comes my way. As that wave form takes shape, like a radio wave, I get stuck on this radio wave thing because it's so fascinating to me that an AM radio AM wave can travel with information in it, and an FM wave can travel with information in it. And I think when I get in my car and I turn on the radio, all of a sudden my signal going out from the car, or my signal going out from my brain, starts accessing a specific type of energy that I want to listen to. If I want to listen to jazz, I can tune into, I don't know our jazz station here because I don't listen to the radio anymore, but play along with me. I can tune into that jazz station. All of a sudden, jazz is coming through, and it's going from wave into electrical pulses into that radio, and then back out of the speakers into wave, and somehow my mind is processing this as sound that creates and fulfills enjoyment. And if I want to listen to rap, I just tune the dial to a different frequency. So as I am ideating in this process of creation, again, going from nothing to chaos, going from chaos to questions to ideas, holding on to that idea long enough for it to become a frequency and then become a wave. In this wave form, it turns into step 7, which is manifestation. Manifestation is when things just seem to start showing up. But what I've realized is, like a radio station, other people that are listening to that type of frequency, that have that same kind of idea, they're tuned into that same radio station. Maybe they're a couple points off and you're a couple points off on this one, but as we tune in and we get clearer and clearer to that frequency, and it is this wave pattern, and we're getting clearer and clearer on what it is we want, that wave is now pinging other people's antennas, which is really what I think and believe, and not just me. There's science starting to show this, that the brain, as an electrical synapse firing fatty tissue, is nothing but an antenna. And so as other antennas who are on that same frequency start picking this up, they start looking at you going, I need to go talk to that person. Or synchronicities and signs to back up what it is you're creating start showing up, because all things are energy. It is not just other humans that are tuning into this. all things are, signs, numbers, all of it is there to affirm and confirm that you are moving in the right direction. And if we can get around the idea of good and bad judgment, or is this right or wrong, if we can just know that if this is something I feel called to create and I'm excited about it, and I start going out into the world and creating this thing and getting clearer and clearer and clearer, and things start showing up, as many of you have seen. One important point to note here is, if you are in the world where you feel like you're not manifesting and you feel like negative things are happening to you, it is an important point of clarification that if bad things seem to be happening to you and you're focusing on those bad things and more bad things are happening to you, congratulations, you are a phenomenal manifester. All we got to do is change the dial. And how do you change the dial? Go back to the process and allow these things that are happening in your world to bring a message to you. I am out of alignment, so allow chaos to be your best friend. Allow these things to guide you. Thank you for all the love. Allow this chaos to be the first part that you start paying attention to in order to lead into better questions. If we can start asking better questions in our life, we start changing the answers, we start changing the ideas, and now you're heading down, manifesting in a direction that you want to have instead of manifesting in a direction you don't want to have. So as we move into step 7 and manifestation takes place, we think manifestation is the end of the process, but it's not. Manifestation is merely people picking up and signs and things coming your direction. Materialization is step 8. Oh, that's 7, that's 8. Materialization is step 8. Now here's the irony of materialization. If you're an entrepreneur, or if you've ever gone out to buy a house or buy a car, you go through this whole process. First, I didn't know. There was no thing that I wanted to buy a house. There was no thought about it. But then I got frustrated. There was chaos. I was tired of living in the place that I'm in. So as I stir up this frustration of being where I am now and wanting to go somewhere else, I start asking questions. Where do I want to live? What kind of home do I want to have? And as I ask those questions, I start seeing the ideas coming to me. I start looking online for the things that I would like to have in my new home. I'm in the ideation phase, and all of a sudden I get clearer and clearer and clearer. I start creating the vision board of the things that I want, or the home that I want. D, you're 100% accurate. I start paying attention to the things that I want. All of a sudden that wave starts pulling it in, and I'm driving around with a realtor, and magically I end up in a home that looks almost identical to the one that I was ideating around. So I'm going through this whole process. A large part of it can be frustrating, right? Finding the money, finding all those things. So nothing really ends up being simple, but if I'm clear and trusting and putting this out there, I can have ease, not simplicity. I can have ease and flow of finding this new home. So as I'm going out and I'm putting this out into the universe, and I'm out with a realtor, and we're looking and looking and looking, and all of a sudden I walk through those doors. Here it is. I'm still in the manifesting part of this phase of buying this house. I haven't bought it yet. The whole time I've been wanting for it to materialize. We want the things to materialize in our life because if it's tangible, then it's real. I'm going to challenge you on this because it is real the minute it moves into ideation phase and it becomes a frequency. That is when you have created something. And I'll prove it to you. For any of you who have created anything or bought a new car or bought a new house, to continue with this analogy, while I am in the buying process, it's exciting, it's frustrating, it's not always simple, but it can be easy. And all of a sudden, I buy the house, the check is cut, I walk in, the furniture's in, everything's in, I take that deep breath, I'm in there for 2 weeks, and by the second week, I'm sitting on the couch, and my very first question is, well, what's next? It's fascinating to me, after thousands of conversations with people around the world, how desperately we're attached to the materialized aspect of this, how much we bypass the journey and the fun of even the chaos and frustration to get to the materialized form. And the minute we get it in our lives, we're on to the next thing. Now, hopefully, many of you spend a lot of time in gratitude for the things that we do have. Many of us, including myself, probably have too much, when we could simplify our lives a little bit more and move into ease. But whatever, I love life. I love experiencing and materializing things. But when we have it in our hand, when we have the home, when we have the car, when we have the thing, we're on to the next creative thing, usually. So the anticipation part of this, the reason I'm even having this conversation and going through this process, is because right smack in the middle is this idea of anticipation. And if we can move out of an anxiousness around anticipation, but more importantly, move into the curiosity and playfulness, the childlike anticipation, right there in the middle of this process of creation. Maybe even, if we practice this enough and we really trust in the whole game, all 8 stages of creation, that nothing, the first step, nothing, is a fun place to play in. Chaos. I was on a podcast recently and I didn't realize how much I actually had become obsessed with chaos until the title of this podcast and this interview I was on, she wrote the king of chaos, the king of curiosity in chaos. And I thought, you know what? I have started to learn to love this chaos and anticipate what's going to come out of it. Find this childlike wonder of what will come out of chaos, instead of getting caught in the tornado, sitting there and moving into this childlike playfulness, this anticipation for what's coming. Because what comes out of chaos usually, again, are powerful questions leading to powerful ideas. And then I get to watch the synchronicities and signs and people show up. And the materialization is fun too, but again, we're on to the next thing. Holly, thank you. So happy you can be here with us. I am an Abraham Hicks fan, yes, for sure. She's incredible. So what I'd love to do in our last 20 minutes together is take this idea of anticipation and these stages, and don't try and understand it. It is what happens. One of my favorite ideas that came from the Gene Keys and these cards is this idea of contemplation. It sits between study and meditation. It's just allowing it to sit within your vibration, sit within your body. So these previous words that have been put out there, just maybe move into a contemplative mode with it. See what sticks, see what doesn't stick. And as we move into these last 20 minutes, I want to walk you through a visualization / meditation that has seemed to really serve people in their creating, in their business lives, in their positions of leadership in politics or wherever. As I've sat with them and moved through this fun little easy visualization, actually, Holly, yes, this visualization will be a huge tip of letting go of fear. Yay! The point in this visualization is, for many of us, myself included, and particularly as I dove into personal growth and personal development in my early 20s, I was taught to visualize myself doing the thing. If I wanted to be a public speaker, visualize myself being on stage doing the public speaking. The problem with the visualization of seeing myself as a public speaker wasn't during the visualization. I would see it and get really excited, then I'd come out, and the first thing that would happen would be, well, how do I get there? And the minute I start thinking about how did I get there, that's where, Holly, to your point, fear would step in. I don't know how to get to public. I don't know how to do any of these things. What I've realized in these last few years in coaching and working with people, in my own businesses and in other businesses, is if we can move into the space I want to take you in right now, we'll call it the space of done, the done space. We go beyond the doing into where it is already done. And as you'll find, if you really truly can own this feeling of done in our time together here, in this visualization, see if you can stir this feeling up inside of you of it's all done. And if you can, what you'll start noticing is the other feelings creeping up from this feeling of done. And I don't mean done when I'm 85 years old. I mean, let's just move into a non-time and space, non-linear time and space, where what if it was all done? The thing you wanted to create, the people you wanted to serve, the ideas you wanted to bring in the world, what if it was all done? And if it is all done, see what comes up during this visualization. What feelings am I feeling? And I bet they are significantly different feelings than if you were visualizing yourself doing the thing when you come out of this visualization and meditation. If you feel inspired to, if you feel connected to this message, thank you, Rob. I receive that deeply. Please hit that donate button. Reciprocity is such a key component to all of this giving and receiving of energy and allowing it to flow. I open myself up to receive. It is not easy for me to ask for that. It is weird. It's awkward for me. I'm so blessed in all the other areas of my life. To sit here and give is my goal. But I know that I need to open up that channel of reciprocity through you and with you, so we can all participate in this oneness. If you want to reach out to me, click on the link in this bio. Wow, thank you. I see that coming in. Click on this bio. Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Rob. Click on the bio, click on my link, and feel free to reach out to me. I'm here to serve. I'm here to help. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're in business, if you're in sales, if you're in life, if you're looking for love, I am not the answer, but I have been gifted so much. And I've experienced so much, and I want to give that back to you, to serve you profoundly, so that we can all bring impact to this world and create true change. Needed shifting of what is, not because it is bad, but because we are called to evolve, and it starts with me and you. It is why we are here. Thank you. I love you. Thank you so much for your kind gifts. Have an incredible Wednesday. Smile. Be receiving of that which wants to flow through you, and give infinite gratitude. I love you. I'll see you Friday.